it's another week, another Strange New World. Well, actually, I think the first Strange New World this season. So you haven't guessed, I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. And as always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, so let's get to it. So we didn't get an Ortegas episode in Season 1. And I don't know if you remember that promo clip that came out at the end of last year that showed us we were getting her in Season 2. And this is and isn't an Ortegas episode. She's in it, but she doesn't really get anything more than usual to do, sort of. And I'll be honest, that kinda annoys me. And this is probably the most classic Trek episode Strange New Worlds has ever done. I actually kinda really enjoyed aspects of it, but it's the writing that always lets it down. It's not doing anything new that we haven't seen before in other Trek shows where the crew have lost their memory. Generation done it best in the episode, I think it's called Conundrum, where the crew all lost their memory. And that's a great comparison for this episode, and it's also a great character comparison for the Next Generation crew in Picard Season 3. Maybe there's a video on that, subscribe to find out. But yeah, again, they're doing a classic Trek trope this week, so it looks as if that's what we're going to get this season. Which will please some fans, but on the other hand, it's nothing that we haven't seen before. So Pike's back, sort of, after 3 weeks of being on the bench. He's pretty heavily focused in this episode, and his girlfriend is, or maybe his ex-girlfriend, she's at the start and the finale as well. And she gets a message from an admiral, and man, is she taking that for quite a long time. It seems that she's in the bad books after the whole number 1 trial thing, plus Pike wants to end it, so all round bad time for her. And the crew are off to Rigel 7 again. We do get a bit of backstory on that, where 3 crew members died on the last mission. It seems that they've left something behind, as the locals are now using the Starfleet Delta as a symbol on their planet, so the Enterprise has to go and investigate. So it's a Prime Directive episode, and Pike has to lead this mission as he feels responsible for what happened on the last one with the deaths on the planet. And then this is where the kind of Ortegas thing sort of takes over. We get a log from her, but that's kind of it at the start. Rigel can only be accessed by shuttle, so they need her, but then it turns out that they need her more on the Enterprise, so kind of taking out the action before she's in it. Anyway, the away team can't risk further contamination, so no phasers, only local sort of items and dress. So it's Pike, M'Benga and Lan, because apparently your doctor's one of the best fighters on the ship, and that's why Pike needs him. And they land miles away from the settlement so they don't risk any further incidents. And it turns out that Lan is blacked out. She's missed over 6 hours. So initially I thought maybe it's her time travelling from last week. Are they setting something else up? But no, it's just something that's going on the planet. Don't worry about it. And the entire planet is what gives this episode its old Trek feel. I mean, I know it's modern sets and they look a lot better, but it still kind of looks a little weird and cheap, and it does very much fit into that whole 60s vibe. At least that's just what I think. And it turns out the locals have more than a Starfleet design. They've got phasers as well that were left behind on the last mission. Now, this is where the episode falls apart later on, because they sort of hint that there was maybe only 5 or 6 members of the away team, but we see way more phaser rifles than 5 or 6 in this episode. Almost everyone has one. But anyway, I'll get to that. And the away team's cover's blown before they even begin because they recognise that they're Starfleet. And the twist is, one of the dead crew members from the last mission survived and is now running the show. And if you pay attention, they kind of ruined this, as these scenes were in the promos for this week's episode, but then they showed all the dead crew members at the start of the episode, and you could pretty much clearly see it was that guy. So, I don't know about you, but I was lucky enough to manage to put it together. But yeah, not great, let's be honest. So that's why they're using the Starfleet symbol to honour this guy, so that's that explained. But there's more than that. He also explains that the planet affects your brain and memory. So will it affect the crew on the ship as well? Well, it doesn't matter at the moment because the 3 main away team members are losing their memories very quickly. And it did raise the question, so how, if everyone forgets, is the king now able to remember to tell the story? And they do explain that later on. But this whole memory thing affects everyone on the planet apart from the people that live in the castle. So now Mbenga, Pike and Lan don't remember who they are and are sort of given new identities to go into forced labour. And I'll be honest, I've seen this before in an episode of Stargate SG-1. It was exactly the same setup and they'd done it for an entire episode and it did work a lot better. But we're not talking about that show. Because the episode leans more into the Christopher Nolan film Memento in a very big way, with people getting tattoos of information put on their body. And this whole big expo dump where they're breaking rocks was really incredibly dull. So everyone forgets everything every day apart from the people that are in the palace. So the king's ability is explained, but they overpower the guards and La'an is wounded in the process. Now, one thing that I did kind of like is the locals on the planet have a totem that tells their history, and it lets you know that there's always been two types of Kalar, that's the name of their species. Ones that remember and ones that don't. So how do they keep the memories? That's the big mystery of the episode that Pike needs to answer. And then the episode kind of goes off on a bit of a tangent where there's a debate if everyone wants their memories back because they want to avoid any further traumas from their past. And they do get into this stuff quite a bit, and I did like it. Maybe should have been an overall theme of the episode rather than a throwaway chat. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And yes, I mentioned that a moment ago, but we've not got into it yet. It is affecting the crew on the ship as well. Uhura's the first one where she misses 2 hours, and with Mbenga off the ship, Chapel needs to save the day. Now, this is one bit I did like in the episode. Spock comes up with a good idea that everyone should carry their bio about with them, which I thought would kind of solve a few problems, but it turns out there's only an hour left till everyone on the ship's affected. And this is the second bit I like that they've done with Spock this week. He suggests the obvious solution, which is, why don't we just fly away? It's 3 lives versus hundreds, so yeah, that does make sense. And I do like that Spock used logic in this scene, or at least twice in this scene, so they managed to write Spock reasonably well here, but, you know, they're going to let it down later on in the episode. So, with the crew affected, it's Spock and Ortegas on the bridge who are starting to lose their memories fast, and this is where the episode really falls apart. It gets very bad acting and very, very bad writing. The crew are just wandering the ship like zombies, whereas Pike and the away team nearly had full functionality. But Ortegas manages to find her quarters and realise there's no place like home, so yes, I get the whole Wizard of Oz thing. But of course, while she's here, no one's flying the ship, and the scene where she realises that she's the person to do that is really long. Like, too long. And apparently you can also plot a course by using voice now as well. But yeah, none of the Ortegas stuff in her quarters, for me, was any good at all. It was just her bumbling herself and repeating that same line over and over. So she saves the day, which I'll be honest did look cool but made absolutely no sense that you can just fly a ship through an asteroid. Anyway, back on the planet, Pike beats the bad guy and turns out no one controls the memories, it's just the effects of the planet. And yeah, I thought that was kind of obvious that they'd set that up straight away. And of course, Pike being in the palace, it gives him his memories back and he decides to save the evil ensign and take him back home to trial. That's it. The day's been saved, the crew's been saved, the ship's been saved, and they even moved the asteroid causing the issue. And it ends with an Ortegas log, but was it really an Ortegas episode? She wasn't really the B story, just less of an A story, but I did like her little message at the end. I said at the start, this feels like the most classic Trek that Strange New Worlds has ever done. But as always, it's the writing that lets it down. All the Spock and Ortegas stuff on the bridge, I mean, Spock may as well not have been there. He's been pretty redundant this season so far. And they could have done so much more with the evil ensign story arc and really get into his character and his point of view, what it was like to be left behind, rather than just make him another wash-away villain of the week. As well as Pike being back this week, the whole crew were back together, and that's the first episode where this has happened. And that's probably why it's the best of Season 2 so far, at least for me. But yeah, last week I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't pick it apart too much. This week, a lot more fun and lighter episodes. But again, they're not shown as anything that we haven't seen before. It's not even a strange new world because they've revisited it. But I like that they're doing the whole follow-up story stuff that they do in Lower Decks. But I want to hear what you guys think. Did you like this episode? Did you think some of the acting was a little bit hammy like me? And was Ortega's whole storyline wasted? Let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at The Geeks Reviews. If you made it this far, as always, leave a like on the video, and my name's Al. Thanks for watching.